Kill Me Again, Part 2 of 2. Episode 23 of the Quiet Please series. Originally broadcast November 19th, 1947. Written by Wyllis Cooper. Well, this time it wasn't so bad, for a while. Well, I was smart. I never went near the fellow for 2 months, and I've lived like a king. I will say this for Mr. Hellman. He's generous with an expense account. Of course, some people say that all the money there is belongs to him. But, well, they're willing to take it, regardless. Mr. Hellman was all right about it. He didn't rush me. And I began to wonder how long I could get away with it. Well, I say I had a lot of money. I went to a lot of places, putting this thing off as long as I could. Yeah, I was having fun. I got ideas. Well, you see, I'd met this girl. Oh, sure, a girl comes in any story sooner or later. I never had a girl in my previous life, before Mr. Hellman, so I was nuts about this one. I remember I got very sentimental with her. Kind of forgot, I guess. It was a beautiful night with a million stars. We'd been dancing on an outdoor terrace. I really did forget who I was.
Oh, it sure is a beautiful night, isn't it?
The stars.
Yeah. Could just reach up and touch 'em.
Make you feel romantic?
Kinda.
Me too.
Let's stay out here a while.
I was hoping you'd say that.
You were? Why? 'Cause it's cool?
No.
'Cause you're tired of dancing?
No.
Why?
You.
Me?
Yes. I love you.
Oh, now look. Don't be ridiculous.
I'm not. I love you.
Oh, listen, dear.
I love you.
Listen, I said.
Well?
Look, you're nice to be around with, and you spend your money, and you take me places, and I have kind of fun with you. But that's as far as it goes.
Well, but...
Now, skip it.
Why, I tell you...
Why do you have to be so serious? Don't spoil everything.
But I thought that we...
I know what you thought. You thought I was falling for you. Well, I'm not.
Darling, I want to marry you.
Marry you? Why, you old fool. Marry you.
Darling, please, listen to me.
Look, Pops, I don't want to be mean to you, but after all, you're old enough to be my father, and I don't want to hear any more about it. Now, do you want to go back in and dance, or do you want to get me a taxi and let me go home?
And as she stood there laughing at me, I thought I heard someone else laughing, and it sounded like Mr. Hellman.
You're wasting time, Mr. Davis. Better get to work, hadn't you?
So I went to see my prospect, and it wasn't very hard feeling the way I did. I'm old enough to be her father. Am I? Yeah, it wasn't very difficult to taunt him into drawing a revolver. So I got murdered for the 3rd time, and Mr. Hellman had a new inmate, and, it didn't hurt very much after all, and I wondered how that girl felt about it. Well, I had a nice apartment down there in Mr. Hellman's place, but I didn't get much time to use it. That's one thing you want to remember about making a bargain with Mr. Hellman. Well, the bargain part is always on his side. I brought in 26 new customers, and, well, then I thought it was time for a vacation. Why, after all, you try getting murdered 26 times. It wears you out. I had scars all over me. So I spoke to Mr. Hellman. Mr. Hellman, I said, I need a vacation. I've been working awful hard, Mr. Hellman, and I'm worn out. Why, Mr. Hellman, I said, I've got so there isn't any place left to shoot me without going through an old bullet hole.
Why, I'm awfully sorry, Mr. Davis, but a bargain is a bargain.
But look, I tell you, I...
Sorry, Mr. Davis, but business is business. You cost me $1 million. But
I never got a cent of it.
I'm sure you realize that is not my fault, Mr. Davis.
Are you sure about that, Mr. Hellman?
I don't care to discuss it, Mr. Davis. Now, here is another very good prospect that I want you to see just as soon as possible.
Well, I won't do it.
Mr. Davis, must I take steps? Now, about this black market chap.
Well, I hadn't any rest for so long. I was so fed up with this Mr. Hellman and the job he forced me into, I said to myself, I'm going to double-cross you, Mr. Hellman. I'm going to get some rest somehow. Somehow. So, I walked into this black-marketeer's office. He seemed to be a rather nice fella.
How do you do, young man? What can I do for ye?
I don't want anything.
Automobile?
No thanks.
A washing machine?
Now what could I do with a washing machine?
Ah, change $1,000 bill for ye.
No.
Well, an apartment maybe.
An apartment? Say, that I could use.
It's a deal, sir. Just look at this. 4 rooms, bath newly decorated, daily maid service, modern kitchen. Finest apartment in the city. How about it?
How much?
Price, sir? Long-term lease.
I'll take it.
But,
Yes?
you'll have to buy the draperies in the apartment.
Oh, that's all right. How much?
Oh, that'll be, let me see, $10,000.
I was standing over him, with the smoke still reeling its way upward out of my revolver. He was dead as a doornail on the thick green rug. The door opened and I turned around.
Well, Mr. Davis.
Hellman?
Mr. Hellman, Davis. Well, now you have been and gone and done it, haven't you?
Did you hear what he was trying to sell to me?
Mr. Davis, I hope you realize that your days as a guest in my institution are over.
You mean I don't have to go back now?
My, he certainly is dead. You're a very good shot, Mr. Davis.
Well, he made me so mad that...
Yes, indeed.
Well...
What were you saying about not having to come back?
Oh, did you mean I don't have to come back now, Mr. Hellman?
Why, Mr. Davis?
What?
Why, Mr. Davis, don't you see what you've done? I knew eventually you'd do something like this. Temper, Mr. Davis.
What are you talking about?
Why, Mr. Davis, I knew someday you'd commit a crime, commit a sin, Mr. Davis. Why, certainly you're coming back, Mr. Davis, after the law gets through with you.
But, Mr. Hellman, listen, sir?
I'm afraid you're never gonna be a businessman, Mr. Davis. I have such interesting things for you to do for the next couple of million years.
Who's that?
Why, that, Mr. Davis, I suspect, is the, officers come to take you to jail, where they will eventually send you back to me.
No!
I'll be seeing you, Mr. Davis.
This concludes Kill Me Again. Performed by Miranda and Ryan Johnson. Thank you for listening.